Welcome back to Roadside Rescue. I guess it's bring your kid to work day. I've got Mac in the car with me. My daughter's with my wife at some birthday party or something. I'm with this car. Pretty sure it's a bad alternator. It sounds just like it, but I want to double check. I guess I could have got more. So here's the thing, I could always get more information and just bring the part with me. I used to do that a lot when I had very little time when I was in school, but now I don't mind just coming back a little bit later, and I charge for the diagnosis. If it's something easy like this and maybe they already thought it was the alternator, I'll discount it a little. So we're going to test this. I do want to talk about what happened yesterday at AutoZone though, and probably take 10-15 minutes to do this with my kid in the car, and then I'll probably replace it after in an hour or so when my wife's back. Just by myself out here, it might take about an hour and a half. Looks like I could probably do it in less than an hour though. And luckily they put it on a charger, so I'll be able to test it and their battery won't be dead. And then let's get this set up. I'll tell you about what happened at AutoZone. Okay, battery on the charger is good. It's probably in the trunk or under the seat. I don't remember where it is on these journeys. And speaking of batteries, now that I'm working on this battery, that's what I was doing at AutoZone yesterday. The manager there called me to figure out what happened to one of their cars, not their cars, a car in the parking lot, that somebody who worked there installed a battery backwards. So I got over there, I was like, all right, check the main fuse, ready to figure out why this car won't start. Battery test. I'm gonna guess it has like 500 to 600 cold cranking amps. Let's just say 600. But it started. The problem was it had the four-wheel drive light stuck on and some TPMS lights. The TPMS lights we got to erase and not come back up. The four-wheel drive light, what is it? Probably below freezing. The four-wheel drive light would just stay on, and the linear solenoid on the rear diff had a code. Yeah, battery looks good, 52% health. It's got 430 cold cranking amps. The charger said it was good though, so we'll see about that. Maybe it's not gonna recover too well after all this tomfoolery. So anyways, there's one other guy there at the AutoZone who's there a lot. I think he works there part-time, and he's a mechanic part-time, and he hopped in the driver's seat with his scan tool while I was under there testing the diff solenoid, and we both came to the conclusion that the four-wheel drive module got burnt out. So they're gonna have to send that to the dealership and get it recoded and put one back in there. When it comes to a module or something like that, I've never had good luck putting one in and getting it to recode or anything like that. I even bought some that said the dealership could recode them, sent the customer to the dealership with it, and the dealership said they couldn't even do it. They had to buy a new one. So I don't like messing around with modules and ECUs anymore. I just send those, that's the only thing I send to the dealership. Everything else you just get ripped off. Okay, battery was fine. Let's test the alternator. Anyways, that's what they're gonna have to do with that one, is send it over to the dealership. They burnt out the four-wheel drive module, putting the battery in backwards. Figured that was interesting enough to let you know. Spent a little while over there figuring that out yesterday. All right, just got done checking out the connections on that alternator. Everything there looks good. Now let's do the charging test. Can you hear that? You can hear the alternator whining. I'm sure that's the alternator. I'll put a extension pole on that and put it up to my ear, but it's whining like crazy. I also have my thermal imaging camera. I bet it's getting hot. Yeah, voltage low, 12 volts. Let's listen to it. That'll tell me for sure. I mean, that charging test told me for sure, but put that thermal imaging camera on it too if I have it. Okay, long extension. Oh yeah, that's the alternator. Listen to this. See if it's hot. Look how hot that alternator is. I knew you'd be able to tell. That's way hot for just running for a minute or so. They can get that warm when the engine's warmed up especially, but you'll usually see them about the same temperature. You won't see them get up to 200 degrees in a minute. All right, I'll see you back here when he's not with me. All right, I'm back. Oh, I got the alternator. Already brought the core back, so I just have the alternator, no box. Externally regulated. Interesting. I'm not worried about that though, because it had a good signal and you could hear that alternator itself worn out on the inside, one of those bearings or something. So get that swapped out. Shouldn't take too long. All right, that took forever to get the belt tool on there, on the tensioner. Why is the tensioner way in that back corner? I should have looked this up. I should have looked up the procedure, because I was like, oh, I think there's plenty of room right here. There's this cooling hose in the way. You can see I took the hose clamp off of it. I'm pretty sure I need to get that hose out of there to do that. So I clamped off the reservoir. I'm not gonna remove the hose until I'm sure about that, but I'm pretty sure about that. Could you hear that? That tensioner jumped back. I thought it was cool. Must have been resting on something a little sketchily. I was gonna say there was just enough room to get that belt out of there, so I'm fairly certain I won't have problems putting it back in. If I was replacing the belt though, then I would be worried about it, but the belt looked fine. I'm not replacing the belt, so shouldn't be any extra tight going back on. Okay, here's the alternator. Again, don't really see how I'm gonna do it. That pretty stiff AC line there without this coolant line, so we'll see. We'll find out. Okay, slow and steady. I'm still thinking the only way out is through this. I might have to take both sides of this hose off. I might have to take this one loose too. So we'll try and catch that. And yeah, there's one other little bolt on the front of the alternator. There's two on the side and one on the front. So I got the two on the side done, and that's what I'm saying. This hose is in the way for everything, because that's down there. Yeah, probably 30-45 minutes. Probably about 30 minutes. I'm probably like right on track to finish in an hour and a half, which is what expected. All right, I've got that stopped off with a glove, because once I took this hose off, it started leaking. I got the old alternator out. It had to be twisted sideways to come up through this hole like this, if I remember correctly. I think it came up like this. No, that's front facing. How did it come out? Anyways, it was something like this. It just came out sideways a little bit. There was only one way I could get it out. I don't know. I'll show you if I can get this new one in easy. My hands were kind of tied. All right, let's get this back together. Like this, maybe. Close. We'll see. Don't drop it. All right. Success. Stop. Stop. Okay, I just got done fighting with that belt. Holy, it kept popping off the power steering pump back here, way back there. But at least I could say, at least I'm not doing that power steering pump, and I was just doing the alternator. But again, just like getting it off took a while. Sometimes you can get them off or on in 1-2 minutes, less than 5 minutes. This one took me 15 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes each time. So sometimes it's like that. Get everything tightened back up, warmed up, we'll check it out, and I'm about ready to get out of here probably in 10 to 15 more minutes. $14 volts, you can see it right there. She's fixed. Bowies. I'm still gonna let this run for a few minutes and charge up, even though it's on a battery. tester, let it warm up, make sure everything looks good, and then I'll get out of here. 5-10 more minutes. Go to normal. Remember this morning it said low voltage. I don't know if I showed you the screen all the way though. That's what you want to see. I didn't even have to crank it up to 2300 RPM. It's hard to do that by yourself if you don't have a 10-foot battery tester or leads for it. All right, I'll see you on the next episode. Let me know what you think about this. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you there. That's a job well done.